The gold safety pin felt warm against my skin. A tiny secret holding together a thrifted dress and a thin scar nobody else knew existed. Chandeliers dripped light from the ceiling, making even my breath feel poor. I wasn't a guest here. I was a temp, just part of the background. My friend Zoe shoved a clipboard into my hands. "Smile like your rent depends on it," she whispered. And well, it did. I nervously tapped the pin. "Don't fail me now," I begged the fragile seam. And then he walked in. His suit was quiet, but his presence was anything but. The entire room seemed to shift, adjusting itself to him like the tide to the moon. Of course, that's when I dropped a whole stack of auction paddles. They clattered to the floor, sounding like a pile of coins I definitely didn't have. He looked over, his expression almost softening into a smile, but not quite. Zoe hissed in my ear. "That's Lucian Vale. Eyes down." Too late for that. The auction started, and the bids climbed, the numbers rising like heat in the crowded ballroom. But his attention wasn't on the art. He was watching the room, and I felt his gaze keep landing on me. My stomach was completely empty, but my pride was working overtime, pretending I belonged. Lot 2 went for an astronomical price. He just lifted a single finger and it was sold, just like that. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding, for reasons I couldn't possibly afford. Just when I thought things couldn't get more complicated, his ex-fiancée made an entrance. She was draped in white silk, a trail of cameras following her every move. Her eyes scanned the room, found me, and immediately filed me away under stack. Suddenly, the grand ballroom started to tilt. I hadn't eaten since yesterday, and it was catching up to me. The little safety pin pricked my skin, a sharp feeling that was both a warning and a promise. Lot 5 was announced, but the numbers blurred. My knees forgot how to hold me up, and the chandelier shattered into a million spinning stars. Just before I hit the marble floor, a pair of strong hands caught me. "Don't move," a low, even voice said, incredibly close. Cool water touched my lips, and for a moment, gravity just gave up. His gaze flicked down to the gold safety pin peeking out from the side of my dress. Mortified, I tugged the fabric to cover it. "Sorry," I mumbled. "Don't be," he replied, his voice suddenly private, creating a small bubble just for us in the middle of the crowd. Zoe rushed over, her face a mask of concern. My phone buzzed in my pocket. An unknown number, but I had a feeling I knew who it was from. The message was simple. "Asterisk, are you okay?" Asterisk, I quickly typed back. Asterisk, I'm fine. "Thank you." Asterisk, 3 little dots appeared on the screen, then vanished. We pinned the seam on my dress tighter, and I went back out to face the glittering chaos. Lucian was standing at the back of the room, alone, looking like a man who had just made a major decision. He didn't look at me, and somehow that felt worse than when he was staring. The auctioneer then unveiled a surprise lot, displayed in a glass case. Phones all over the room rose like a field of flowers trying to catch the sun. Lucian's business partner slid in beside him, all charm and shadows, while the ex-fiancée found her perfect angle for the cameras. And then, a camera pivoted and landed squarely on me, as if I was part of the spectacle. I instinctively touched the safety pin. It felt like it was pulsing with a courage that wasn't my own. Lucian raised 2 fingers. He wasn't bidding this time. It felt like a promise. Patience. The auctioneer's hammer lifted, and the entire room held its breath. I looked straight into the camera lens and put on my steadiest face. Somewhere between the glittering glass, the blinding cameras, and that tiny gold pin, I understood one thing with perfect clarity. That was the last quiet moment I was ever going to get. The ballroom was finally empty, but my legs were just pretending they were fine. Zoe, my friend, pressed a cold soda can to my wrist, a silent command. "Don't even think about trying for a sequel to that performance," she warned. I won't, I lied, the words feeling as flimsy as my glittery dress. Across the room, Lucien stood by the exit, his presence as quiet and final as a verdict. I needed to escape, so I slipped into the service corridor, where the plush carpets stop pretending and the concrete floor tells the truth. Walk with me, he said, suddenly beside me, already matching my limping pace. I'm off the clock, I muttered, clutching my clipboard like it was a shield. Then this is between us, he said, his voice low. Not for them. We walked past stacks of crates, tangled cables, and an industrial fan that roared with a kind of brutal honesty. You fainted, he stated, his tone surprisingly gentle. Was it twice? I asked, my memory a blur. Just once, he corrected. The chandelier falling did the rest of the fainting for you. A corner of his mouth twitched, considering a smile before deciding against it. He offered me a bottle of water, and I took it because my pride was just as dehydrated as the rest of me. His gaze dropped to the small gold pin fastened at my side, holding my dress together. It held, he said softly. Barely, I admitted. Just like me. His eyes then found the faint scar on my collarbone. And the scar, he asked. That's not for sale, I said sharply. He simply nodded, folding the question away without another word. There's a live brunch tomorrow, he said, changing the subject. It's going to be on TV. Congratulations? I offered, confused. My business partner wants to put on a show. I just want to be able to breathe. He paused. And you need… What, a decorative plant? I asked sarcastically. A buffer, he clarified. A date, if the headlines insist on calling it that. I stared at him. You met me 90 minutes ago. Some people take years to be honest, he said, his eyes meeting mine. You did it while you were falling. Before he even had to say the word, money stepped into the hallway. I'll pay for your time, he said. And 3 months of your rent. The number he named was so large it seemed to rearrange the air around us. What's the catch? I asked, my voice tight. 2 rules, he said. Always tell me the truth. And tell me when you need me to stop. I carefully set the water bottle down so he wouldn't see my hand shaking. No back doors, I said, finding my strength. I walked through the front. The front, he agreed without hesitation. Always. And I won't swallow lies just to look polite for the cameras. I'm counting on that, he replied. What about your ex? I asked, thinking of the woman in white silk whose smile had teeth. She tried to make you feel small, he said. She's mistaken. That's a nice theory. It's a decision, he corrected me. I did the quick, messy math of my life and immediately lost count. It was a mess. This was a way out. Okay, I said. The word was so small, but it echoed like a canyon. He didn't grin. Instead, he exhaled. A deep breath like a man who's been holding it underwater for far too long. A car will be there at 9, he said. Eat something first. You and your obsession with food, I muttered. You and your need for air, he shot back. We stepped back into the world of chandeliers and illusions. His ex glided past, cameras flashing around her. Cute pin, she purred, eyeing my makeshift repair. It's reliable, I smiled back. Not everything that's new can be trusted to hold. Her smile sharpened. Outside, the city air felt honest and real. Text your friend, Lucien said. Tell her you're safe. I quickly typed Zoe a message full of fireworks and skull emojis. Our code for crazy story. Tell you later. See you at 9, he said as his car pulled up. Bring coffee, I called out. Bring the truth, he replied, and then he was gone. Back home, I unfastened the pin and looked at the thin white line of my scar. It was mine, not theirs. I placed the pin on my nightstand like a promise. My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. Sleep. Eat. Wear something that lets you breathe. You too, I typed back. The 3 dots blinked for a moment, then vanished. I slid the pin under my pillow. Tomorrow was going to be loud. I just hoped my yes would be louder. The black car blinked once, like a heartbeat. A paper bag warm with cinnamon landed in my hands. Eat, the driver said, already knowing I would forget. Lucian waited inside, sleeves rolled up, eyes wide awake. You slept? He asked. Like a rock with Wi-Fi, I replied, stealing his coffee. He slid a tiny box across the table toward me. Insurance, he said. Not jewelry. Inside was a skin-tone earpiece, light as a feather. So you can hear me if the room turns feral. Like a conscience with better diction? I quipped. Exactly. We crossed the river and the city sharpened into focus. The townhouse we arrived at wore its ivy-like armor. A woman named Vera met us at the door, her hair in a tight braid, her expression like a verdict. I keep queens upright and kings humble, she announced. She turned my wrist over, clocking the faint stamp from last night. Front door today, she said firmly. No more service corridors for you. Dresses were brought in like a series of arguments. There was silk that forgave, crepe that remembered everything, and black that simply listened. In the mirror, I met a version of myself who seemed to have all the answers. Walk, Vera ordered. I did, wobbling like a fawn with strong opinions. Again, she said, gently nudging my shoulders back into place. Lucian watched without hovering, which somehow steadied my nerves. When a zipper got stuck, he purposefully looked away. When my heels slipped on the polished floor, he stepped closer but didn't touch me. Try these, Vera said, unveiling a pair of stilettos that seemed to smirk at me. Do they come with airbags? I asked. They come with practice, she replied. We walked in loops around the room until my ankles finally stopped writing jokes. Next came the lesson on forks. Vera rolled out a set of silverware like chess pieces. Salad on the left, entree on the right, dessert is north. And the bread? I asked. To your left. Just think BMWs, bread, meal, water. Why all the puzzles? Power loves code, she explained. You have to learn it so you can break it on purpose. Just then, Lucian's phone buzzed. His jaw went granite. Leak, he said. Someone sold a mystery date story to a tabloid. Someone with a ring light and a dream? I asked. Someone who misses having microphones in their face, he answered. Vera gathered my hair, then let it fall like a promise. Wear it up when the room bites, she advised. Down when you do. Oh, I plan to chew, I said, and she actually smiled. Sandwiches arrived. My pride lost the battle to protein. Vera slid a clutch across the table. Compact, mints, tiny sewing kit, and a pair of flats, she listed. Freedom is always having a backup plan. The makeup artist wasn't there to create a mask, but to paint with light. No mask, she said. Just a little nudge. What will they ask me? I whispered to Lucian. Where we met, he said. At an auction, I replied instantly. In the gravity section. They'll ask about the scar on your arm. I'll say it's mine. Not a headline. He'll push for more. Then I'll pull back, I said. What about your ex? She arrived late and luminous, he said. She believes timing is a crown. And your business partner? He believes cameras are confessionals. He paused. Who believes you? You, he answered, his voice steady. The room seemed to inhale and hold its breath. Posture, Vera cut in sharply. Confidence is a spine, not a volume knob. A seamstress pinned and released the fabric of my dress like a therapist. You have shoulders that have carried more than just fabric, she murmured. I took a deep breath and stood taller, buoyed by her honesty. Lucian laid a card on the table. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., live brunch studio. A short segment, then we face the lobby circus. What's my job? I asked. Be yourself, but with better shoes, he said. And use that earpiece if the floor starts to tilt. Vera pressed a tiny tin into my palm. Sugar, she said. If the world starts to fade, remind your blood that you belong here. Outside the day had teeth, but it wasn't biting. In the car, we did one final review. Truth, stop, front door, I recited. And if they offer you shame, he added. Choose silence. Is silence really that loud? I asked. In the right room, it's deafening, he said. My phone buzzed. It was my best friend Zoe. Asterisk, you alive? Asterisk, I sent her a photo of the flats Vera gave me like a truce. She replied with a string of fireworks and a knife emoji. She's my exit strategy, I told Lucian. I like her already, he said with a rare smile. The studio block flashed by, a blur of satellites, hairspray, and raw ambition. Tomorrow we walk in, he said. Side by side, I answered. And if the chandelier falls? I'll catch you, he said. Again. Back home, the stairwell smelled like rain and coffee. I lined the flats by the door like a prayer. On my dresser, a small gold pin glowed like a tiny sun. Then my phone pinged. An unknown number. Asterisk, see you live, darling. Asterisk, the tone was expensive and bored. I stared at the screen until the little dots stopped dancing. I set the earpiece on my nightstand. Insurance, conscience, lifeline. From my window, I heard a single camera click. The first whisper of the storm had found my glass. I lay down, holding onto my yes, and practiced breathing. Tomorrow would test if that yes could stand up on its own. The hotel glowed like a ship that forgot the ocean. Outside, cameras waited where the red carpet met the dark night. Lucian offered his arm. Front door, he said. Front story, I answered. The doorman's smile looked like it had studied other smiles. A flash popped, and the lobby turned to lightning. I felt the earpiece warm against my skin. Breathe, Lucian's voice whispered inside my ear. I lied. Vera's clutch handbag fit my palm like a shield. Inside, a single gold safety pin rode the lining like a secret. A hostess in a silver dress was counting names like coins. Mr. Vale, she said, her eyes flicking to me. Guest? She asked. Emma, Lucian said. No qualifiers. The ballroom smelled like orchids and ambition. Crystal chandeliers fell from the ceiling in careful constellations. A cello was trying to teach money how to feel. I hate loving this, I murmured. Permission granted, he said. People watched us watch them not watching us. Then, a woman in a white column dress arrived late. She was all timing and camera angles. His ex, luminous on purpose. Her smile landed on Lucian, then slid right over to me. New, she said lightly. Risky, I smiled back. Limited edition, I said. No returns. The corner of Lucian's mouth almost confessed to a smile. A man in a midnight black tuxedo stepped in. His partner by posture, by orbit, by his grin. He shook Lucian's hand and looked right over my shoulder. Name? He asked, already forgetting it. Emma, I said. Try to hold on to it for a full minute. He held my gaze for 2 seconds and failed. A server floated by with champagne. I took water because Vera would. Earpiece clear? Lucian asked softly. Like a conscience, I said. A hostess approached with velvet ropes and rules. You're at table 1, she told Lucian. Then she pointed me toward table 8, like it was an escort mission. Lucian's jaw tightened. Stay where you like, he told me. Table 8 has better stories, I said into my mic. Sit where the room breathes, he replied in my ear. A donor with a sapphire bow tie leaned in. Who did your face? He asked. My mother in bad lighting, I said. He just blinked like a modem trying to connect. A woman my age rescued me with a grin. Dress rehearsal or the real game, she whispered. Both, I said. Then eat, she advised, sliding me a bread roll. Vera's voice lived in my shoulders. My posture found me and refused to leave. The auctioneer's voice tested thunder as lots blinked to life on a giant screen. Art. Trips. A yacht week that sounded like a guaranteed sunburn. Lucian lifted a single finger. Numbers behaved. He didn't look at me, but I felt chosen anyway. His ex drifted near with a laugh that knew all the exits. You clean up? Surprisingly well, she said. Dirt taught me to be waterproof, I replied. Her smile cracked just a little at the edges. Her partner arrived with a reporter attached. Quick quote? The reporter asked. I saw the mic and remembered Rule 2. Truth, stop, I heard in my ear. We met at an auction. I said. Gravity did the rest. What about the scar? She pushed, her eyes bright. It belongs to me, I said, not to headlines. Its origin? She pressed. A beginning, I said, and smiled. Lucian's hand warmed my back without actually resting there. Good, his voice said. Exit now. I pivoted toward the orchids like they were old friends, but my heel caught in the carpet. My ankle gasped. Lucian's hand found my elbow and stopped time. Just then, the strap on my dress sighed and slid down my shoulder. Skin flashed. The scar breathed in the chandelier light. A dozen camera lenses inhaled at once. I ducked behind a pillar like a magician's rabbit. I felt for the gold safety pin with my thumb. A click, a bite of metal, a small gold yes. The strap obeyed. I stepped back into the room, owning a little more of it. The ex watched from a mirror, not from her chair. The partner watched the cameras watch him. Lucian watched me decide to stay. The auctioneer's hammer kissed wood. Applause covered the whispers like a rug. A woman touched my sleeve. Where did you get that pin? She asked. Hardware store, I said. Also history. She smiled like she understood both. A donor tried to make a joke about my neighborhood. Do you have a lobby? He asked. We have a stoop, I said. It's cheaper and kinder. He looked away first. Mini victory, small but loud in my ribcage. Front door accomplished, Lucien said in my ear. Not dead yet, I whispered back. A waiter tripped. His tray learned about gravity. I caught a falling glass by its stem. The room clapped the way people clap when it's not really about them. The reporter reappeared. One last question, she said, her eyes hungry. Do you love him? She said it like a dare with an audience. Behind her, the ex rearranged the air. Truth, stop! Lucien breathed in my ear. I looked at the chandelier instead. It's beautiful, I said. She laughed, frustrated. That's not an answer. It's the one I have tonight, I said. The band found a song that remembered how to breathe. Lucien reached me without crossing the distance. Dance? He asked. In these? I lifted my shoe like a weapon. 2 steps, he said. No heroics. We moved small in a corner that felt like ours. His breath warmed the thread of my hair. You did well, he said softly. You did less badly, I said. He almost laughed. Flash. A camera found us in the angle of almost. Another flash, lower, hungrier. It wasn't the reporter. It was a phone. On its screen, I saw the preview in a stranger's hand. My dress strap, his hand near my shoulder, the curve of my scar. Our faces close together. Out of context, it was a beautiful lie. The phone turned, and a finger hit send, and the chandelier kept shining, like it would never fall. A flash popped, then another, like fireworks aimed right at my chest. My dress strap slipped. Just as his hand rose to help me, the bright chandelier light caught the scar on my skin. Someone in the crowd, a total stranger, had their phone out, and I could practically see the caption being typed. Billionaire's new secret. The whole ballroom tried to pretend nothing happened, but the damage was done. We're leaving. Lucien's voice was firm. Front or back? I whispered, trying to stay calm. Back! Now! But just as we turned, Sienna stepped right into our path, her smile as sharp as a shard of crystal. Congratulations! She purred, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. You've gone viral. Congrats to you, I shot back. You must have rehearsed that line. Just then, Miles, Lucien's publicist, showed up with a grin that clearly cared more about ratings than people. The press wants a quote, he told Lucien. They can want, Lucien said, not even slowing down. We navigated through a maze of orchids and judgmental stares. In the corridor, Vera, my stylist, met us with a needle and a look of calm determination. Hold still, she said softly. A pin is a promise. The safety pin bit into the fabric of my dress, a tiny piece of metal swearing its loyalty. Outside, the cool night air tasted like burnt flash powder. A car door opened and we disappeared inside. My phone immediately started vibrating like a trapped wasp. A headline popped up, asking if my skin was real or just a PR stunt. The comments section was a storm of strangers, learning my name without knowing a single thing about me. Staged, one person wrote. Is she a survivor? Another one hoped. Gold digger, someone else tossed out like a piece of used gum on the sidewalk. Vera gently pushed a bottle of water into my hand. Sip, she said. Lucian just stared out the window as the city lights blurred past. Breathe on a count of 4, he instructed. It's my face, I whispered, the words barely escaping. It's a face, he replied, his voice steady. Yours. Suddenly, a meme of the safety pin appeared, crowned and golden. The hashtag pinned by Vale was climbing, spreading like ivy on a glass wall. We finally reached his building, where the doors recognized him and slid open. Upstairs, a screen blinked with 6 tiles. PR, legal, security, finance. Source? Lucian asked, getting straight to business. 4 separate uploads within 60 seconds. Security reported. The original is unknown. Timeline? PR asked, already in crisis mode. National news in 30 minutes, morning shows by sunrise. She looked at me like I was a problem to be solved. We'll just say it was a wardrobe malfunction. No, I said. The room went silent. Everyone leaned in. It's a scar, I stated, my voice finding a strength I didn't know I had. It's mine. It's not a stunt. PR adjusted her glasses with a sigh. Fine. Then we frame it as survival. Minimal detail. Vera gave a single supportive nod. Truth without the theater. Lucian turned to me, his focus entirely on me, not the crisis around me. Emma leads. We support. Just then, my phone buzzed with a DM that actually mattered. A teenager had written to me. Hey, I have the same scar, it said. Thanks for not hiding yours. I took a deep breath and put my phone face down on the table. Of course, Sienna couldn't resist. She posted a picture of the chandelier with the caption, "Some things fall so beautifully." Her subtlety was about as effective as a siren. Not at all. Miles, ever the coward, reposted a clip of my near fall with a winking emoji. A producer's face popped up on the big screen, her grin wide. We've got a prime slot for you. Live, tomorrow. PR flinched. That's too soon. It's just right, Lucian countered. The producers studied me, sizing me up like a bet. Will she go live? Yes, I answered, the word surprising even my own bones. Alone? She asked, clearly smelling drama. With Lucian, I said firmly. I'm not bait. 6 p.m., she confirmed. No edits. Perfect, PR lied, her voice sickeningly sweet. The call ended. The silence in the room was stretched tight. Another DM slithered onto my screen. Hide your ugly. Vera quietly flipped my phone over again. That's not food for your soul, she said. We write, Lucian announced. Short, clean, unshakable. So we started building sentences that could stand on their own. My name is Emma, I practiced. I have a scar. I'm not ashamed. Good, Vera said. Again, but slower. Security pinged the team with camera angles from the gala. We might need these, he said. For what? I asked. For chapter 2 of the internet, he replied ominously. Lucian's jaw softened, just for a second. We can cancel, he offered. And let them keep the pen? I asked. He just waited. The story pen, I clarified. I want it back. Then we write, he repeated, and this time it sounded like a vow. We rehearsed answers that didn't beg for pity. We practiced saying, no comment without sounding afraid. We rehearsed the line. I won't perform my pain for your entertainment. Vera rechecked the pin on my dress. Stay sharp, but stay soft, she advised. Both? I asked, confused. Always, she replied. PR laid out the plan. We post at noon, go live at 6, and follow up with receipts. Legal armed me with 2 key phrases. That's false, and we'll address that soon. As the city outside quieted down, Vera sent me to her guest room with hot tea and a breathing app. Lucian lingered in the doorway a moment longer than necessary. "You sure about this?" he asked. "No," I admitted honestly. "But I'm done being edited by strangers." He smiled, a real smile, like a secret finally seeing the sunlight. "Tomorrow then." "Tomorrow," I echoed. My phone buzzed one last time. An unknown number, no profile picture, just one line. "See you on air." It read. The studio smelled like cold coffee and nerves. Vera pinned my mic on and whispered in my ear, "Just breathe in 4s." I looked up and saw Lucian in the mirror, his eyes meeting mine. "You lead," he mouthed. A producer held up 10 fingers, then 5, then 1. Suddenly, the host's smile clicked on like a bright artificial light. "So, was it staged?" she asked, right on cue. The screen behind us froze on the image, my strap mid-slip, the safety pin on my shirt flaring like a tiny bolt of lightning. "No," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "It's my scar." "It's mine." From the side, a panelist purred. "A classic case of sympathy marketing, perhaps?" I looked straight at her. "It's survival," I said firmly. "Not merchandise." Lucian leaned into his mic, his voice level and calm. "This is not a campaign." The host, sensing the tension, teased. "So what is it then?" Lucian didn't miss a beat. "It's human." Behind us, a live feed of comments rolled by, a mix of digital knives and crowns. "I can't control their hunger for a story," I said, speaking to the camera now. "I can only control my own honesty." The panelist jumped back in, needling me. "Primetime honesty sells very well, you know." I shook my head. "People aren't landing pages." She smiled a smug little smile. "And yet, you're here." I met her gaze. "To tell my story myself." The red lights softened. We cut to a commercial break. In the sudden quiet, a whisper skittered across the hot mics. "We should have scripted her," someone hissed nearby. The floor manager's voice cut through the tension. "Back in 5, 4. The red light bloomed to life again, and the host's sweet smile returned. A viewer named Sienna asks why a photographer was conveniently ready to capture the moment. I had an answer for that. Photographers aim where attention points. Attention is lazy. It follows the crowd. The hostess smile widened, clearly pleased with the drama. She also says she has text messages. The panelists chimed in. Anonymous, but very persuasive. I kept my composure. Truth signs its name. They turned their focus to Lucian. "Mr. Vale, is she just a pivot for your brand?" "No," Lucian said. "She's not an experiment." The panelist pounced on his choice of words. "So, they're asterisk or asterisk experiments." Lucian seemed to wince. "I test narratives," he admitted. "Not people." The bait was set. And who wrote tonight's narrative? I spoke up before he could. I did. The host sang her final question. "Will you monetize this experience?" I gave a small, tired smile. "I'll make rent. But not off my scar," a voice called out. "And we're clear." The applause sign lit up, and the audience dutifully clapped. In the hallway, my phone exploded with notifications. A short clip was already going viral, looping Lucian's voice saying, "I test narratives," edited over a shot of my face. The hashtag Project Girl was sprinting up the trending sidebar. Then, a second leak emerged. A fake audio clip of the whisper from the break, edited to sound like it was Lucian who said it. Vera rushed to my side, her hand on my arm. "We'll clarify this." I just looked at her, exhausted. With what control? Lucian caught up to us, his eyes a mix of panic and apology. "I stumbled," he said. "That's on me." I looked from him to my phone and back again. "You promised I'd lead. But the whole show ended up chasing your stumble." "That's on me," he repeated. I nodded slowly. "And it's on them." "I'm just the bruise they're all pointing at." "Come upstairs," he urged. "We can post the raw footage." I stopped him. "Do you own the feed?" He hesitated for just a second. "No." I took a deep breath. "Then you don't own the pen." "Not tonight." I started walking toward the exit. Being protective isn't the same as having control. He looked lost, like a door relearning its hinges. Emma, please, he said, his voice softer. I'll take the subway, I replied, touching the pin on my shoulder. I'll wear the pin. On the train, 2 teenagers offered me a piece of gum. One of them grinned. People aren't landing pages, right? I managed a half smile. Neither are scars. When I got to my corner, the guy at the deli slid a hot tea across the counter. On the house, he said, for not flinching. My phone kept buzzing, its hot little vertex vibrating against the tabletop where I'd left it face down. Taped to my apartment door was a plain envelope with no return address. Inside was a USB drive and a post-it note with a sketch of a safety pin. It just said, Angles. J. The plastic felt heavier than it should. A headline on my phone blinked. Vale calls viral girl a project. A baby cried down the hall, a raw, honest sound. I locked my door and set the USB on the table. Tomorrow, I thought, tonight, I'll just drink my tea. The safety pin on my shoulder caught the city light filtering through the window, like a tiny, stubborn crown. I looked at my reflection. We're not done, I told him, and I meant it. That morning, the air in my apartment tasted like dust and jasmine tea. On the table, the USB drive sat there, practically daring me. I took the longest shower of my life, trying to buy myself some courage, minute by minute. My pin, the one I wear for luck, lay on the sink, winking at me. Later, I whispered to it. Breakfast first. Downstairs, Mrs. Han from the noodle shop slid a bowl of congee across the counter. No phones, she said, tapping the spot next to me. I was grateful for a simple order I could actually follow. The steam from the bowl fogged my glasses, and for the first time all morning, I could breathe normally. A little boy sitting nearby pointed at my shoulder. Princess pin? He asked, his eyes wide. It's a shield, I told him. For brave days. He gave me a little salute, and his mom mouthed, thank you. My phone buzzed, 50 red dots screaming for my attention. I flipped it face down and just kept eating. Walking outside, the city didn't feel so much like a jury anymore. My neighbor, Mr. Ortiz, was hauling cardboard on the stoop. He waved me over. Your shelf still sagging? He asked. I nodded. Books are optimists, I said. We fix it today, he declared. We found a plank from an old pallet, and he measured it with a piece of string and a whole lot of pride. The sound of the hammer was patient, almost kind. Soon, the shelf was straight and strong. Stronger now, he said, handing me the extra nails. For the next book you earn. I smiled. How do I pay you? Bring me the show when you win, he said. Win what? Whatever they took from you last night. I just swallowed and gave him a hug, my hands covered in sawdust. Back upstairs, the whole apartment felt lighter. I placed my little pin on the new shelf, right next to a chipped tea mug. They looked like 2 survivors in a museum. Then, a knock. It was Lucian, holding paper bags. No suit, just a sweatshirt and messy rain hair. I brought soup, he said, his voice small. Does it come with an apology? I asked. 2, he replied. 1 for each camera. I let him in. He put the containers on my tiny table. Vera told me not to come, he admitted. But I decided honesty is a better strategy. Honesty talks after it eats, I said. We sat down. The soup was amazing, reckless with garlic. He watched my hands, not the trendy headlines. I said we needed to test narratives, single quotes, double quotes, he started. I heard fear in your voice, I cut in. I heard my own, he confessed. I hate that I made you carry that. He pulled something from his pocket. It was a thin silver chain threaded through a tiny pin, a replica of mine. I soldered it last night, he said softly. For your shoulder when straps misbehave. I clipped it to my collar. Stay for 10 minutes, I offered. Only if you plug that in, he said, his eyes flicking to the USB drive. It turns out Jad, the junior camera guy from the auction, had left a copy for him too. Always everywhere, never noticed, Lucian said. The underdog's cousin, I added, picking up the drive. Before we hit play, he pointed at my new shelf. Straighter than the network's ethics, he said. I told him about Mr. Ortiz. Hire him, Lucian said instantly. For once, use your power kindly, I told him. He winced. I'm trying to learn. The kettle clicked, and we drank jasmine tea like it was a truce. He asked about the scar on my arm. I told him about the kitchen fire when I was 12, how I grabbed the burning pan and lost a whole summer. I hate that the world put a price on it, he said. I hate that I let them, I answered. He reached for my hand, but paused to ask first. I nodded. Can we try again? He asked. Without microphones deciding what everything means. Try means boundaries, I said. Boundary 1, I post my own titles. 2, you don't frame me. 3, apologies must include soup. He laughed, a real unpracticed laugh. Agreed. Just then, my phone exploded. Vera, do not post. An unknown number. Play angle C. Jad. Ring finger, black gemstone. Watch. Lucian and I looked at each other. Gemstone? I asked. Claudia's ring, he said. It's a black diamond. I slid the USB into my laptop. Angle C showed the auction balcony. A hand reaches for my dress strap. We paused. Zoomed in. A black diamond winked at the camera. In a reflection, we saw a profile Claudia. And behind her, another face Simon, pretending to check his phone. 2 predators, 1 plan. Angles don't lie, I whispered. People do, he said. Vera texted again. They're seeding a new cut. The unknown number. Deepfake scheduled for noon. Jad. I can testify. I have the metadata. The room felt tiny. Plan? Lucian asked, his voice softer now. Street first, I said. Then the stage. Mr. Ortiz, Vera, Jad, the whole crew. We build a truth so big it can't be knocked down. He nodded, not leading, just with me. And after? He asked. Soup again? Well, I said. Apology medal needs a matching spoon. Outside, the city's sirens felt like they were stitching things back together. My pin caught the light like a promise. The clock was ticking toward noon. I hovered the cursor over the raw footage. Ready? He asked. I nodded and pressed play. That morning, the air in my apartment tasted like dust and jasmine tea. On the table, the USB drive sat there, practically daring me. I took the longest shower of my life, trying to buy myself some courage, minute by minute. My pin, the one I wear for luck, lay on the sink, winking at me. Later, I whispered to it. Breakfast first. Downstairs, Mrs. Han from the noodle shop slid a bowl of congee across the counter. No phones, she said, tapping the spot next to me. I was grateful for a simple order I could actually follow. The steam from the bowl fogged my glasses, and for the first time all morning, I could breathe normally. A little boy sitting nearby pointed at my shoulder. Princess pin? He asked, his eyes wide. It's a shield, I told him. For brave days. He gave me a little salute, and his mom mouthed, thank you. My phone buzzed, 50 red dots screaming for my attention. I flipped it face down and just kept eating. Walking outside, the city didn't feel so much like a jury anymore. My neighbor, Mr. Ortiz, was hauling cardboard on the stoop. He waved me over. Your shelf still sagging? He asked. I nodded. Books are optimists, I said. We fix it today, he declared. We found a plank from an old pallet, and he measured it with a piece of string and a whole lot of pride. The sound of the hammer was patient, almost kind. Soon, the shelf was straight and strong. Stronger now, he said, handing me the extra nails. For the next book you earn. I smiled. How do I pay you? Bring me the show when you win, he said. Win what? Whatever they took from you last night. I just swallowed and gave him a hug, my hands covered in sawdust. Back upstairs, the whole apartment felt lighter. I placed my little pin on the new shelf, right next to a chipped tea mug. They looked like 2 survivors in a museum. Then, a knock. It was Lucian, holding paper bags. No suit, just a sweatshirt and messy rain hair. I brought soup, he said. his voice small. Does it come with an apology? I asked. 2, he replied. 1 for each camera. I let him in. He put the containers on my tiny table. Vera told me not to come, he admitted. But I decided honesty is a better strategy. Honesty talks after it eats, I said. We sat down. The soup was amazing, reckless with garlic. He watched my hands, not the trending headlines. I said we needed to test narratives, single quotes, double quotes, he started. I heard fear in your voice, I cut in. I heard my own, he confessed. I hate that I made you carry that. He pulled something from his pocket. It was a thin silver chain threaded through a tiny pin, a replica of mine. I soldered it last night, he said softly. For your shoulder when straps misbehave. I clipped it to my collar. Stay for 10 minutes, I offered. Only if you plug that in, he said, his eyes flicking to the USB drive. It turns out Jad, the junior camera guy from the auction, had left a copy for him too. Always everywhere, never noticed, Lucien said. The underdog's cousin, I added, picking up the drive. Before we hit play, he pointed at my new shelf. Straighter than the network's ethics, he said. I told him about Mr. Ortiz. Hire him, Lucien said instantly. For once, use your power kindly, I told him. He winced. I'm trying to learn. The kettle clicked, and we drank jasmine tea like it was a truce. He asked about the scar on my arm. I told him about the kitchen fire when I was 12, how I grabbed the burning pan and lost a whole summer. I hate that the world put a price on it, he said. I hate that I let them, I answered. He reached for my hand, but paused to ask first. I nodded. Can we try again? He asked. Without microphones deciding what everything means. Try means boundaries, I said. Boundary 1, I post my own titles. 2, you don't frame me. 3, apologies must include soup. He laughed, a real unpracticed laugh. Agreed. Just then, my phone exploded. Vera, do not post. An unknown number. Play angle C. Jab. Ring finger, black gemstone. Watch. Lucien and I looked at each other. Gemstone? I asked. Claudia's ring, he said. It's a black diamond. I slid the USB into my laptop. Angle C showed the auction balcony. A hand reaches for my dress strap. We paused. Zoomed in. A black diamond winked at the camera. In a reflection, we saw a profile Claudia. And behind her, another face Simon, pretending to check his phone. 2 predators, 1 plan. Angles don't lie, I whispered. People do, he said. Vera texted again. They're seeding a new cut. The unknown number. Deepfake scheduled for noon. Jad. I can testify. I have the metadata. The room felt tiny. Planned? Lucien asked, his voice softer now. Street first, I said. Then the stage. Mr. Ortiz, Vera, Jad, the whole crew. We build a truth so big it can't be knocked down. He nodded, not leading, just with me. And after? He asked. Soup again? Well, I said. Apology medal needs a matching spoon. Outside, the city's sirens felt like they were stitching things back together. My pin caught the light like a promise. The clock was ticking toward noon. I hovered the cursor over the raw footage. Ready? He asked. I nodded and pressed play. Have you ever had one of those mornings? The kind that smells like dust and jasmine tea, where a single USB drive on the table feels like a ticking time bomb. That was my morning. I took the slowest shower of my life, trying to buy myself a few more minutes of courage before facing the 50 red notification dots screaming on my phone. Downstairs, the wonderful Mrs. Hans served me a bowl of congee with a simple, life-saving rule. No phones. Sometimes, the clearest commands are the kindest. As the steam from the bowl warmed my face, a little boy pointed to a pin on my shirt. Prince's pin? He asked. Shield, I told him. For brave days. He gave me the cutest little salute. It was a small moment, but it felt like a sign. I flipped my phone face down and just ate. Outside, the city felt a little less hostile. My neighbor, Mr. Ortiz, spotted me from his stoop. He noticed my bookshelf was sagging under the weight of my books. What can I say? Books are optimists. Without a second thought, he said, "We fixed today. We found a discarded plank, and with some string and a whole lot of pride, he fixed it." The shelf stood taller, stronger. As payment, he just said, "Bring me the show when you win." He didn't even know what I was fighting, but he knew I was fighting. His belief was a gift. Back in my apartment, the new shelf looked solid, a small victory. Then, a knock. It was Lucian. No power suit, just a sweatshirt and rain in his hair. He brought soup. And not just any soup, but soup with 2 apologies. One for each camera angle that had turned my life upside down. He admitted he'd messed up, that he'd given the scandal a matchbox to light its fire. He even brought a gift, a tiny pin he'd soldered onto a chain. Apology medal, he called it. A small, tangible promise to do better. It was a start. Just as we were finding a fragile truce over garlic soup, my phone buzzed again. A message from an unknown number. Play angle C, another from Jad, a junior cameraman. Ring finger, black gemstone, watch. Lucian and I looked at each other. He paled. Claudia's ring is a black diamond. My heart started hammering. We plugged in the USB, angle C showed the auction balcony, and there it was. A hand, quick and deliberate, reaching for my dress strap. We paused, zoomed in. A black diamond ring winked at the camera. And in the reflection of a nearby window, the unmistakable profile of Claudia, and behind her Simon, pretending to check his phone. It wasn't an accident. It was a setup. They staged the whole thing. My mind raced. Vera, my publicist, was texting, "Do not post." The unknown number warned. Deep fake scheduled at noon. Jad messaged again. "I can testify." I saved the metadata. The pieces were all there. The room felt like it was shrinking, the ticking clock getting louder. Lucian looked at me, his usual confidence gone, replaced by something softer, more solid. "Plan?" he asked. "We build a truth big enough to stand on its own," I said. We weren't just going to react. We were going to build our own narrative with the real evidence. Mr. Ortiz, Vera, Jad, even the little boy with his salute. They were all part of this. We had the raw footage. We had the metadata. We had the truth. As the clock crawled toward noon, the moment the fake story was set to drop, I hovered my mouse over the real story. Lucian looked at me, a silent question in his eyes. I nodded and pressed play. The rain hammered the roof, a sound like static from a dead channel. Vera, my anchor in any storm, called it cleansing weather as she poured me a fresh cup of coffee. Across the table, Jad, our tech wizard, fanned out a series of bank wires, a paper trail of digital ghosts. Lucian, the man who could move mountains with a single phone call, read the totals without so much as a flinch. A shell company sent a large sum of money at 3:07 in the morning. By 3:19, a deepfake editor was paid. The memo line was chillingly simple. Balcony clip. Who owns the shell company? I asked, my voice tight. Vera slid a corporate filing across the table. Vale and Hart. Sold 3 years ago. Lucian traced a signature on the document, a signature he knew far too well. Simon, he breathed, and the name snapped the entire room into sharp, painful focus. This wasn't just business. It was betrayal. We can't go to a studio with this, Vera decided instantly. They'll spin it, twist the story until we're the villains. Jad looked up from his screen. So where do we go? I knew the answer. Where the truth has cheap lights but really good ears. Vera finished my thought. Our community hall. Within minutes, Mrs. Han, the heart of our neighborhood, texted a key emoji. Doors open, it read. Mr. Ortiz promised to bring empanadas for courage. Lucian, true to form, made 3 calls that shifted the very ground beneath our feet. He got a reply from a local, independent moderator. A single word, tonight? We built our stage from old folding tables. Jad marked the speaker's spot with a white X made of tape. Vera, ever the strategist, wrote the order of evidence on a napkin. Money, mask, mirror. People started arriving, dripping umbrellas and opinions in equal measure. Kids lined the back wall. Phone's already recording. Then Claudia arrived, dressed in storm gray, her presence a low-pressure system. Simon followed, looking out of place in a nervous, expensive tie, flanked by two lawyers who hovered like bad weather. "Thank you for coming," the moderator began. "Tonight, we test claims." On cue, Judd put the ledger on the projector. An arrow, a time stamp, 3 hops, 12 minutes. "The shell company belonged to Simon," Vera said, her voice clear and steady. "Was Simon's," Simon corrected from his seat. "Was used by you," Vera shot back, putting the sales contract on the screen. "His signature, clear as daylight." "Why sell to a man you didn't trust?" the moderator asked Lucien. "I trusted structures," Lucien admitted, a rare moment of vulnerability. "Lesson learned." Claudia just smiled into her mic. "It's business, not personal." "Tell that to my voicemail," I said, stepping forward. Judd hit play. An altered voice filled the hall. "You don't belong in that room." Then another clip. "Lift the strap. I want to show." The silence that followed was thick enough to choke on. "Chain of custody?" One of the lawyers piped up. Vera held a stack of papers high. "Recorded, witnessed, notarized." Dr. Poe, our forensic expert, placed a clear bag on the table. "A burner phone," she announced. "Pulled from the consultant's dumpster." Judd added, "We traced its pings to the gala towers." Dots danced on the screen, a map of their deception. "Who said the line?" a teenager called from the back. Judd zoomed in on a reflection from the balcony video. A jawline. A lip familiar. "Reflections can lie," Claudia murmured. "Mirrors don't," I replied. We rolled out a full-length mirror we'd bought from a thrift store. Judd set up a mannequin at the exact angle from the video, holding a phone. He whispered the same vile words. We overlaid the mirror's reflection with the video from the balcony. It was a perfect match. The entire room inhaled as one. "Physics are petty," Dr. Poe noted dryly. "They don't forget. Follow the money," someone shouted. Judd flashed the balcony claim memo, then a wire transfer to a floral vendor. He took a peony from a bouquet on the table and popped the center. A tiny microphone, no bigger than a bead of rain, fell onto the table. One of the lawyer's pens squeaked to a halt. Lucien stepped forward with a thin folder. "If any of my companies are found to have funded harm, I unwind them," he declared. "Receipts or it didn't happen," a voice challenged. He laid out refund orders under the document camera. Wires halted. Vendors notified. The paper trail lit up in reverse. "Response?" the moderator asked Claudia. She stepped into the light, completely composed. "I was replaced by a narrative with a scar," she said. "Pain cells. I just wanted my share." From the audience, Mrs. Hahn's voice rang out. "It's not your share if you cut it from someone else's shoulder." "Mr. Hayes?" the moderator prompted Simon. "I moved the money," he mumbled. "I outsourced a job," his lawyer blurted out. "Deepfakes aren't illegal. Defamation is," Dr. Poe countered. Just then, the rain seemed to shift. 2 detectives stood under the red exit sign, patient as the weather itself. "We have some questions about a shell company," one said calmly. "And a warrant for the consultant's servers." The lawyer started whispering. Vera squeezed my hand twice. "My anchor." "Am I under arrest?" Claudia asked. "Not yet," the detective replied. "That depends on your next 10 minutes." The moderator nodded to me. I stepped onto the white X on the floor. "I didn't come here tonight to win," I said, my voice finding its strength. "I came here to stop losing to lies. If you're filming this, post the whole thing. Don't cut it into clips. If you want a villain, follow the check. Follow the hand that lifted the strap. Follow the ghost who forgot that phones and mirrors. Always remember." The applause started small. Then it rolled through the hall like thunder. Phones rose like 100 tiny suns. As detectives guided Claudia and Simon aside, Mr. Ortiz wiped his eyes with a napkin. Judd finally allowed himself a wide grin. Vera looked up at the ceiling, as if the roof had finally stopped leaking. The moderator closed his notebook, almost smiling. Tomorrow, he said softly, there will be another storm. I looked out at the faces in the room, at my friends. Tomorrow, I answered. We'll bring more umbrellas. The morning rain had washed the streets clean. I called Lucian, and the first thing he asked was, "Are you safe?" "I am," I said. And as the words left my mouth, I felt their truth settle deep inside me. "Meet me where it began," he said. Just us. The auction hall was empty, filled with a quiet, lemon-bright light. We stood in row 3, facing the balcony that once felt like a looming threat. He looked at me, his voice steady. "I can't change what happened here, but I can change what it keeps." He opened a small black box. No grand gesture, just a simple movement. Inside lay a slim, pale ring. "The inner band is steel," he explained. "From a safety pin, the one you carried," I remembered, a warmth rising in my chest. "The outer band is silver," he continued, "from refunded fees. What funded harm now funds repair." He told me he'd sold the shell companies and published the refunds, determined to name the harm until its echo faded completely. He didn't reach for my hand. He just waited. "What do you want?" I asked, needing a clear answer. "A door," he said, "to walk through with you. In daylight." His honesty was a breath of fresh air. "Then start small," I told him. "Start consistent." He finally asked, "May I?" and took my hand. The ring was cool at first, then warm, then it just felt right. A circle made from a pin and a promise. Suddenly, the balcony seemed smaller, its power diminished. We sat there in row 3, just breathing together. "You didn't win me," I said quietly. "You met me." He nodded, as if he'd been waiting for that sentence his whole life. A custodian rolled by, glanced at us, and smiled. "Nice ring," she said, and the world kept turning. At the door, he said, "Come see something." Around the block, a paper sign was taped to a window. "Recycle Hearts," it read, the letters a bit too big. Inside, the space was filled with plywood tables, donated cameras, and borrowed laptops. A large blank wall, the size of a wound, faced us. Vera appeared with a paint roller. "For your scar," she said. "Only if I tell it," I answered. "Only if I want to." Jod uncapped a marker with a grin. "Program?" Vera listed off the plan, quick and sharp. Receipts, consent, contracts. Dr. Poe arrived, arms full of mics, ready to teach physics for phones. After-school edits and empanadas. Jod and Mr. Ortiz added their contributions. "And the rule," I said, making sure everyone heard. "No straps. No secrets." Vera underlined it twice. "No one sits alone." Lucian stood in the doorway. "What's my job?" he asked. "Chairs," I said. He laughed and unfolded 10. Soon people started drifting in, drawn by rumor and the smell of rain. A teen asked for the Wi-Fi password. A grandmother needed a charger. We didn't need a big speech. "Welcome," I said, my voice clear. "If you've been edited, we believe you. If you've been believed too fast, we'll slow it down. Sit if you need. Speak if you choose. Stay anyway." By the door, Vera wrote 3 words. Open. Honest. Ours. Lucian laced his fingers with mine, not for show, but for balance. The ring on my finger caught the light and threw it back. Stubborn and bright. It felt like a key finally turning in the right lock. Week 1, the rain stopped, but people kept coming. Vera pinned the schedule to the corkboard and left space for names. Jod drew a door on the blank wall and labeled it Future. Dr. Poe tested the mics and taught a kid to listen for hiss. Mr. Ortiz brought empanadas, like a peace treaty with the day. I put the kettle on and called it production design. Lucian fixed a loose hinge without announcing it. The ring tapped the screwdriver and made a bright, clear note. A teen unrolled a poster of her face from a smear blog. Together we layered captions over insults until the words had no more oxygen. A grandma brought a shoebox of old letters and asked for a scanner. We made a PDF and a promise at the same time. A man cried over a fake bill and left with a real plan. The door just kept opening because that's what doors do. I told my scar story once and then I let it rest. It was mine. It didn't owe anyone an encore. Lucian sat in the back row, a steady horizon in the room. He spoke only when invited, never just to hear his own echo. Refund receipts turned into classroom chairs almost overnight. The balcony we bought from the auction became a field trip for courage. Row 3 wasn't haunted anymore. It was reserved for beginnings. A local reporter visited, ready for a gotcha story. She stayed for 2 hours and left with a smile instead. Her piece ran that night, titled, "How to Unedit a Life." The comments weren't knives, they were bread. "Been waiting for this," one said. "Where do I send my cousin?" We posted our toolkit online and never put a gate on it. People translated it into 3 languages by morning. Vera added no hero worship to our wall of rules. Jod underlined the word "ours" and made it look like a signature. Dr. Poe labeled a drawer "Truth Takes Time" and closed it gently. Lucian brought in a plant and said, "Even steel needs leaves." I laughed because it was true in ways I couldn't explain. We hosted a live night with phones stacked at the door. Everyone gasped once, then remembered how to breathe together. I read the names of donors and debts like a weather report. Lucian read a single apology and didn't look away from anyone. We played a before and after clip of a rumor being repaired. It didn't go viral, it went useful. A girl who'd stopped drawing brought a sketchbook back to life. She handed me a page with a window and a lit room. "Witness," she said, shy and fierce. "For you." I felt the old ache and then that sweet, clean easing after. "Sit in row 3 someday," I told her. "Bring snacks." We threw a soft launch party with cardboard crowns. Mr. Ortiz tried on 3 and kept them all. Vera made a slideshow of tiny wins and big grins. Jad did 10 seconds of silence and called it respect. Lucian took my hand and squeezed twice. Asterisk here, still asterisk. I squeezed back twice. Asterisk seen asterisk. When the city tried to name us a trend, we declined. We were a practice and practice is patient. I wore my jeans and the ring. Both fit beautifully. We visited my old block and finally fixed our buzzer. The sound it made was ordinary and perfect. I mailed a stack of thank yous with hand-drawn stamps. The mailbox swallowed them like a friendly whale. Sophia sent a note. "Good work. No spotlight necessary." I framed it anyway, because permission not to perform is so rare. The auction house sent a formal apology on thick paper. We recycled it with reverence and a wink. On a clear evening, the balcony door stuck and then slid open. I stood there with Lucian and watched the city pulse. He said, "I used to count wins and zeros." I said, "Me too, but mine were after the decimal point." We laughed because we had moved the dot together. "Marry me in daylight," he asked. Not begging, just brave. "Marry me in row 3, I answered, not hiding, just sure. We invited anyone who ever felt edited out. They came with flowers made from old flyers and new hope. Vera officiated and forgot her script, but she didn't need one. Jad cried openly and filmed nothing. Dr. Poe clapped on the offbeat and made it the new beat. Mr. Ortiz tossed paper petals, an immersi of rice. Lucian slid the pin silver ring where it already lived. "Not a prize," he said. "A partner, not a rescue," I answered. "A return." And the room said yes, the way only rooms filled with hope can say yes. Our first dance was a walk down the block and back. No one asked for a kiss, we gave one anyway. The scar didn't flare. It just warmed, like a memory with good manners. We locked up late and left the porch light on. The key turned smooth in the lock, no drama, only grace. If this story felt like a door you needed, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from and rate this journey from 0 to 10. Subscribe for more true-hearted stories, tap like if the lesson of the ring landed for you, and share this with someone who needs an unedited ending. Tell us in the comments, what's the moral you're taking with you? Authenticity over status, receipts over rumors, or doors over gates? Thanks for being here with us.